Shabbat Shalom. It has been said that the Jewish people have survived over thousands of years and through countless eras of oppression and persecution, not on account of our power or our position or our prosperity, but on account of our words, the words of our Torah, the teachings of our heritage, the stories of our people. These are the ballast that have kept us afloat, ferrying us from one generation to the next with wisdom, morality, and faith. Our ancient words sustained us when we had little else to hold on to. They gave us purpose, they gave us dignity, and they gave us hope. Time and again, our Torah reminds us of the power of language. As we read last week, God does not bring the world into being with magic or sorcery, but with words, declaring, "Let there be light." And there was light. Through language, God conceives our earthly design. Through words, God manifests this astonishing world in which we live. Words have unbounded power to shift and transform land and sea, beast and human. This power is also embedded in our speech. We know that words can lift up the most anguished of spirits, but so too words can puncture the heart in the most potent of ways. A harsh word can concuss without physically striking. It can suffocate without tangibly strangling. It can knock us down with no more than a breath. As we read in Proverbs, Mavet v'chayim beyad lashon, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Yes, words can inspire, they can influence, and they can indoctrinate. In her 1938 book, School for Barbarians, Education Under the Nazis, Erica Mann writes about the various modes of indoctrination in Nazi Germany, stating, "Every child says, 'Heil Hitler,' from 50 to 150 times a day, immeasurably more often than the old neutral greetings. The formula is required by law. If you meet a friend on the way to school, you say it. Study periods are opened and closed with it. And if these are not your parents' first words when you come home from lunch, they have been guilty of a punishable offense and can be denounced. Your evening prayers must close with it too, if you take your devotions seriously." Words we see when used for evil can poison a mind or a school or a nation. And if the platform is large enough, the venom will spread, infecting masses far and wide. Over these past few weeks, we've watched as the artist formerly known as Kanye West spread his brand of anti-Semitic vitriol on television and across his various social media platforms to an estimated 31 million followers. 31 million. The hate-filled garbage he spewed reeked of time-worn conspiracy theories about Jews and money, Jews and media, and Jews and power. All myths designed to malign and isolate Jews at various points in our history. While Kanye has been widely disavowed, fired by his reps, and cast out by his sponsors, his brazenly unapologetic rants remind us that, 1, Jew hatred is alive and well in our country, in every echelon of society. 2, Jew hatred is not merely a personal prejudice against Jews. As Yair Rosenberg, a writer for The Atlantic, explains, it's also a conspiracy theory about how the entire world works, blaming shadowy Jewish figures for countless societal problems. 3, it is becoming more and more common to hear such vile Jew hatred in the public sphere, or among polite company, as one would say. Kanye didn't post these thoughts on the dark web or in some hidden corner of the internet. He posted them on Instagram and Twitter, and then he went on national TV and offered the same rubbish for all of America to consume, just as they might consume their daily news or fashion advice. Erica Mann, the previously quoted author of the 1938 School for Barbarians, describes how this kind of normalized hatred eases people into the role of perpetrator. Of Nazi Germany, she writes, "There are more placards as you continue past hotels, restaurants, indoor swimming pools, to school. They read, 'No Jews allowed,' 'Jews not desired here.' And what do you feel? Agreement? Pleasure? Disgust? Opposition? You don't feel any of these. You don't feel anything because you've seen these placards for almost 5 years. This is a habit. It's all perfectly natural, of course. Jews aren't allowed here." While many might argue that anti-Semitism has not yet become habituated here in the United States, it certainly has seen a resurgence. And as we mark the 4th anniversary of the Tree of Life shooting massacre in Pittsburgh, the deadliest assault on Jewish people here in the United States, we must acknowledge the distressing rise of anti-Semitism right here among us. According to the ADL, anti-Semitic incidents reached an all-time high in the United States in 2021, with a total of 2,717 incidents of assault. Harassment, vandalism, this represents the highest number of incidents on record since the ADL began tracking anti-Semitic accounts in 1979. An average of more than 7 incidents per day, and a 34% increase year over year. Attacks against Jewish institutions, including synagogues and JCCs, were up by 61%. Incidents at K-12 schools increased 106%, and incidents on college campuses 21%. Assaults increased 167%. Incidents of harassment were up 43%. Acts of vandalism, 14%. One need not dig too deep to find disturbing examples of anti-Semitism right in our backyard. On Thursday, individuals associated with the Goyim Defense League dropped a banner from the Bronx River Parkway that read, "Kanye is right about the Jews." The group did the same in LA last weekend while giving Nazi salutes. And a few days ago in Brooklyn, a group of teenagers attacked 3 Jewish yeshiva students, pelting the students with eggs and punching one of them, yelling, "Free Palestine." And 2 weeks prior, on the heels of Kanye's first rants, the Holocaust Museum in LA was overwhelmed with hateful, vile messages on their social media platforms. And in response, their CEO, Beth Keane, stated Kanye needs to use his words to inspire and not to incite. This week, we read in Parashat Noah the story of Babel, We just heard it read so beautifully by Rabbi Davidson. And it's a story that is rooted in the power of language and words. This tale about a people being scattered across the world with no common language to speak of begins. Everyone on earth had the same language and the same words. This verse, which might seem innocuous at first, is actually the root of great turmoil in our portion this week. In our commentaries, we read that having the same language and the same words could be interpreted as everyone thinking the same, or everyone having the same intentions. Commentator David Kimhe notes these intentions were not very good. We see then that everyone having the same language and the same words represents a real sign of danger in this developing world of our Torah, a sign that God's creation tilts towards conformity, and that people often prefer homogeny over diversity. God recognizes the peril here and ultimately responds by scattering the people and confounding their language, doing this after they build the Tower of Babel. And God does so in part to restore balance to this place that has prioritized or maybe demanded sameness. For surely there were unnamed others who didn't speak the same language or didn't have those same words. What became of them? The story of Babel then can be interpreted as a tale of how one group came to dominance through the use of words and language and exclusion. So much about the propagation of anti-Semitism and hate in general comes down to words and language and exclusion. The emphasis on exclusion or difference is of utmost importance in the propaganda of anti-Semitism. Hence, the all too common demonization of Jews, frequently called children of the devil, and very often portrayed as less than human, with horns or bulging eyes. This insistence on our difference has had astonishing staying power, even in this quote-unquote sophisticated age in which we live. Difference is still so intolerable to so many. Therefore, as it was in the time of Noah, it still is now. People still aspire to sameness, and they still desire to create worlds in which everyone has the same language and the same words and the same beliefs and the same thoughts. Sameness breeds security. Difference undermines that. Sameness creates comfort. Difference destabilizes that. Sameness establishes predictability. Difference thwarts that. As for us, we Jews will never be exactly the same as the prevailing cultures in which we live, with the exception perhaps of Israel. Even if we speak the same language and have the same words, our Judaism sets us apart. Jews have been distinct for generations. We have followed our own sacred texts. We have pursued our own sacred times. We have lived by our own sacred rhythms. But our distinctness is our pride. Full stop. At this fraught moment when anti-Semitism is rearing its vicious head once again, when words of hate are infusing our airwaves and schools and places of worship, when we feel pushed to the margins out of worry or fear, may we remind ourselves that we are not alone, that today we have allies who care deeply about our safety and our well-being. We are surrounded by so many who want justice for us and for our children and our children's children. And we are buoyed by those who want to share their love and support and righteous indignation with each of us. We will not fight this hatred on our own. We will stand strong and speak out and teach out amongst friends. But more important than looking out at this moment, let us look inwards. May we find strength and courage and meaning in our differences, that we may rise up on our own 2 feet to combat this longest standing hate. May we find joy and passion in our unique identities, that we may celebrate unabashedly, even amidst our troubles. And may we find power and purpose in the sacred words that we carry, for these are the words that have carried us and inspired us and emboldened us over space and time, in joy and in sorrow, from generation to generation. Girded by our tradition, our heritage, and our sacred communities, we will continue to fight against anti-Semitism in dignity, in strength, in determination, in courage, and in love. Ken Yiratzon, may it be so.